there are so many reasons why I got into teaching.
One of the best things is the light bulb moment.
When you see a pupil suddenly understand something, that's really, really special.
Every child is so full of potential, and the thing that makes me proudest to be a teacher is seeing them realise what they are capable of.
I don't think any other job can give you the same satisfaction.
That's why I chose to teach.
You could get £26,000 tax-free to train. Search Apply to Teach. Selected subjects only, subject to eligibility.
Gamertag Radio is on play.in.
You can now watch Gamertag Radio live on Twitch.
Get all the latest news and coverage related to the gaming industry.
Join hosts Danny Pena, Paris Lilly, and Peter Toledo.
Don't miss the crew record the podcast live Sundays, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Wednesdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get involved with the conversation, send us questions, and be part of the show.
Gamertag Radio.
Follow us, twitch.tv/Gamertag Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Podcasting since 2005. You're listening to Gamertag Radio. With your host, podcaster Hall of Famer Danny Pena, the always opinionated Paris Lilly, and from outside of the norm, Peter Toledo. This is Gamertag Radio.
Here we go.
All right, welcome to Gamertag Radio, episode 693. This is your host, Danny, and joining me this week are the whole Gamertag Radio crew, co-host of the show. Let's start off with Pete.
Yo,
what's up?
What is up? Long time no see.
Good, man. Long time no see. That was a crazy trip, man.
Yeah, man. That's it was good. It was a good time. Glad to honestly, as usual, we see each other rather frequently. Was hoping to have Paris join us. Obviously, he was on location with something else. But that's fine. That's fine. There's other opportunities, I'm sure, coming on the horizon that'll allow that. But yeah, I had a great time seeing you. Obviously, seeing some of the media side people that that we don't normally see on a regular basis.
Definitely.
Just overall, it was good to see what they had in store for us, and can't wait for our listeners and everyone to see and hear what we had an opportunity to check out. So it's good stuff. It was good stuff.
Definitely. And also we have Paris in the house. Welcome back, Paris. You had a nice little vacation and then a last minute trip too.
Yes, I did. I went on vacation. I was down in Mexico with my wife and some friends, and we had a great week. And then I literally came home and hopped on a plane and went up to Seattle for another week. So, yeah, it's been a crazy 2 weeks for me. I can say this. I got to visit Bungie. I got a tour of Bungie. So that was like a 100% bucket list item for me, and super exciting to be able to check out that studio and just see how those guys work, doing their thing. It's pretty inspiring, to be honest with you. So again, I want to thank all parties involved that invited me up there to be able to check out that studio. So I'll have more to say about that. You might want to tune into Thursday's episode. I'll just leave it at that.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Paris was just smiling the whole time, man. All the pictures I've seen, you see Paris smiling.
Yeah, cheesy grin the entire time. It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Now we can mention this though, Pete. We were at a Ubisoft event.
Yep.
In San Francisco. This was a pre-Gamescom event. So there's certain things that we could talk about. The only one I think we're going to talk about today is the VR game that you got to play. What was that, Pete? What's the name of it?
Transference from Ubisoft and Spectre Vision. Spectre Vision's actually owned by Elijah Wood, the actor.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll talk about that more coming up. It was caught me off guard, caught me by surprise. It was pretty dope, man. It was pretty dope. I know you got a chance to play that at E3. So you wanted to see what my response was. That was your whole thing. So.
Yeah, more than anything, because this is the same E3 demo that they had over there.
Right.
So I was like, man, is Pete gonna figure this thing out? So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Stuff, so. But so let's go with this first. Paris, a lot of people want to know, man, your reaction about this. I know you were not surprised, but Crackdown 3 delayed to 2018.
You know what I realized when I saw this news? was I actually predicted this originally before E3 during my Miss Leo that Crackdown 3 was going to get delayed, and then they pulled the okie doke on me at E3 and was like, no, it's coming out in November, so I thought I was wrong. Turns out I was right.
And then they reverse okie doke you.
Yeah. So I mean, all jokes aside, no snark, just being real about it. It's unfortunate, but it's a good thing from everything that I've seen from Crackdown 3. That game simply is not ready to be released. So if they need more time to get it right, honestly, if they delayed this until holiday 2018 to get it right, I'd rather see that than them to try and rush this out. It's a half-baked product. No one, you heard what we've been saying the past few weeks about Crackdown 3. I'd rather talk about Crackdown 3 and be excited about it. Like, oh my God, I got to get Crackdown 3 to the power of the cloud. This is amazing. You know what I'm saying? I want to say those things. I don't want to say how Major Nelson made this look like one of the worst games ever created, you know?
I still haven't seen the video. I got to watch it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bad thing in the short term, but hopefully long term, this is a positive thing that they did this. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, but I noticed that there was getting bad press in the beginning, and now because this got delayed, there was still people kind of dissing it too, man. So it's like, I think it's a great thing that they made that move for them to make the product even better, But I just don't understand the whole dissing part, I don't know. I don't get it.
The question for me is, does it significantly take away from the launch exclusive of Xbox One X because it doesn't have Crackdown 3 in it? We know it's got Forza 7. We know it's got Cuphead and Super Lucky's Tale, and hopefully PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will be launching right alongside it. There's going to be a bunch of other titles that are going to be able to take advantage of the power of X, Middle-earth Shadow of War, Assassin's Creed Origins, which Call of Duty World War II, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Destiny 2. So as if you lump them all together as launch opportunities for the console, does it really affect it as much?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it does. I mean, let's be honest. Forza is an every year title, so we always expect some type of Forza IP to show up, right? Mm-hmm. So in a weird way, it almost doesn't count. Cuphead and Super Lucky Tale, or however you say it, those aren't AAA games. Crackdown 3 was literally your exclusive AAA game that you were launching day and date with the Xbox One X. That is a huge void now. And people may get mad when I say this. I ask again, what is the point of getting an Xbox One X unless you just want quote unquote 4K gaming? Because it's really just third-party games, again, that you're taking advantage of. Where are the exclusive games? That's my biggest thing. I just want to see more exclusive content. And look, like it or not, Sony is bringing exclusive content to their platform. They are no longer just relying on third party. And this late into the console generation, I need to see more exclusive content. Microsoft knows this. It's not a secret. That's why it's unfortunate that they had to delay this game, that it simply was not ready. 2018 is going to be a big year for them because they need to show us they got stuff coming. Because if they don't, again, I don't own an Xbox right now. I don't have an incentive to go get an Xbox. We've talked about this a million times. Mm-hmm. The way that you can get me to go get an Xbox is put some exclusive games on there that I want to play, that my son wants to play. Then it's going to be like, you know what? Maybe I do need to go get one and put it out there in the living room so the kids can enjoy an Xbox as well. Right now, I just don't have that incentive to do, and that's squarely on them. It's literally all the mistakes and the IPs that never came out over the past few years that have put them in this situation right now.
Yeah, one thing that during our trip in San Francisco, we were hanging out with Pete's friend. I don't know if you want to mention his name or not, Pete, but
his name is Flynn. Yeah? His name is Flynn. Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So we were talking about, the Xbox One S. We talked about Crackdown and that stuff. And he's one of those people that is going to buy an Xbox One X. So I asked him why. He's like, nah, I just want to have the hardware. I know that there's going to be games coming out next year. So there's a crowd out there that are like him. They just want to buy an Xbox One X just because of the hardware. They have their library They just excited to maybe play, Gears or Halo or other first-party games that came out in the past in 4K. So,
right. And understand that Flynn is the type of gamer that has no desire to jump into PC gaming. So he doesn't want to have that requirement of having to constantly tweak and twiddle and fidget with settings and stuff like that. He has a PlayStation 4. He does not have a Switch yet because, like Paris, he has pulled out the PowerPoint deck and he wants to pick and choose the financial battle within his household. And it's something he wants, but it's not something that he wants to rush out and get right now. That being said, he's going to be the one that hands off his Xbox One S to his son, and he's going to get the Xbox One X for him personally. He spends a majority of his time online, and honestly, it's one of the reasons why when PlayerUnknown's Battleground comes to Xbox One X, he's one of the primary reasons that I will likely pick it up on the Emerald and play it in my living room or play it here in my game room. Because he is a really good friend. I've played with him as you found out. I've known him for over 10 years on Xbox Live, and we just met for the first time last week. So he is that market share that Xbox and Microsoft are gearing this towards. It's not a bad thing. There is a market for people who want that, who constantly want to live within the Microsoft ecosystem. It's not a bad thing. That's just his preference. And again, at the end of the day, it's the one thing that we've all been pushing. This is your choice. It doesn't matter what the person next to you or the person across the street or the person on the other side of the country wants to do with their money. It's their flow. It's their decision to do this. Who cares if you disagree with it or it's counter to what you feel or believe? Who cares? Why get up on the soapbox and make it such a big deal?
You know, here's the thing. We say we don't want to talk about the console wars a lot. And someone, I can't remember if it was a voicemail, email, or what it was, kind of pointed us out as hypocrites on that we say we don't want to talk about it, but we do talk about it. We're literally talking about it right now. And what I'm realizing is, unfortunately, it's a necessary evil that we have to keep repeating ourselves about this, because exactly what you're saying, Pete, people get so passionate about these consoles and about these platforms that they will we literally saw a petition on Twitter. I sent you guys this yesterday. Yes. Where so people are petitioning that they put Spider-Man on Xbox One. And I died laughing, because here's the thing. If you really want to play Spider-Man that bad, go buy a PlayStation 4. Seriously. Why are you petitioning to make Insomniac put a Sony exclusive title on the Xbox platform? Are you that loyal to one brand that you won't even consider the opposition? Now, look, I understand maybe you can't afford a PlayStation. I understand that. But if you're to the point where you can't afford a PlayStation, you don't need to be wasting your time online on change.org creating petitions to demand that a game comes on the platform that you can't afford. But it's where we are now with social media. Here in 2017, you're seeing these passionate fans have a voice, and you're seeing these things constantly. And that's why I think we unfortunately keep repeating ourselves, because if we just stop talking about it, people are going to say, well, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you doing that? So I see both sides of it. I know it's a little hypocritical that we talk about it a lot, but it is what it is, unfortunately. I just, like you said, Pete, try to say over and over, it's your money. Spend it how you want to spend it. Don't worry about what someone else is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's move on. Paris is official. BioWare makes it official. No more single player content coming to Mass Effect Andromeda. It's official. They already have blog posts. I know we talked about this, but it was like a rumor. It wasn't official.
Right.
But now BioWare says, you know what? F this game. Let's go with Anthem. Basically, that's what I think it is.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the right move. Right now, that's the right move. Focus on Anthem. Get Anthem right. Don't worry about anything else. As a studio, work on that. Put your best talent on Anthem. Ship that thing and make it the best game it can be at launch. And then, you know what? Casey Hudson's back. He's running the studio now. Then let's circle back and fix Mass Effect. That's all I ask. I mean, I want Mass Effect to be great. So, they stubbed their toe with this one. I don't know if you read the Kotaku article about the struggles that they had during development, but it's not shocking that we got the game that we got at launch. But hopefully they can rectify that, and maybe in 3 or 4 years we'll see Mass Effect return.
But in a way, it's kind of messed up. Like for those that bought the game thinking that they were gonna have like some single player DLC content in there, and now that they announced this, it's like it's kind of messed up, in my opinion. I think, but I don't know.
Is it though?
I mean, if you're a fan of the series and you've been buying it and you know there's always going to be DLC content, and then you buy it and then they say, nah, we're not going to do it months later after you bought it. I mean, I don't know.
No, I agree with Danny, because if you're the average person that doesn't keep up with all this news on social media and all that, you're just a big fan of Mass Effect, and you see, oh, they're gonna have DLC and all this, and you're excited about it. You play the game, maybe you thought it was a little lackluster, but you're like, hey, maybe there's gonna be some DLC, and then it was like wonk wonk wonk. Now we're not gonna have anything. You know, you feel kind of cheated by it. So I totally get it from that standpoint.
And why you're saying no, Pete?
Maybe okay. Pete, I guess Pete doesn't want you to know nothing. He's like, I'm not talking to you.
No, I just feel that there's so much potential for that Mass Effect world. It's that space world that unfortunately Halo has left us behind on, right? It's that space opera that we're all hoping for, and maybe that's where Destiny comes in, and it takes that mantle away as the space opera of this generation, right? But I think that there's so much opportunity for that I hope that this isn't the last of the Mass Effect world that we're seeing.
I mean, we're not going to see anything for a very long time, I think. I think their focus is going to be just that Anthem right now. They're going 100% with that. So,
yeah, it is what it is.
Ah, man. Yeah. All right. Another thing, too, Nintendo still kicking butt in Japan. It says Nintendo Switch sales outpacing PlayStation 4 by 2-1. Your thoughts about this, guys? It's making a lot of buzz within Japan.
I think this is normal because it's still year one of sales. It's still hard to find. It's Nintendo being Nintendo. They're slowly but surely feeding the masses, but they're doing it in such a controlled fashion that by generating the demand, by forcing demand to be high, it makes these sellouts that occur as we've seen over the last couple months in like minutes that they're gone, it forces people to almost buy them because they can't get them, I think there's a bigger opportunity for Nintendo to sell more, and I don't know if this is just their strategy for sales to make sure that they just continue to outsell and sell out as a result, because the more they sell out, the more people want to, it almost forces people to want to jump over and grab one just to have one, whether it's to actually give it to a family member or a kid or to hold on to it to sell during holiday season. It's actually getting to be that time period now where I start going into hoard mode, buying stuff and then throwing it up on eBay come holiday season, so that way, instead of trying to sell it for, or trying to buy it in the stores, you can find it on eBay. You just got to pay the markup.
Right now, looking at the chart, week 21 is sold almost 100,000. Week 24, 87,000. They said that if Nintendo continues to sell at least 80,000 every week, they could see this hitting 3 million just in Japan alone. 3 million units sold in Japan alone if this continues like this. So, I mean, the key for them is still release, great content, especially those big games that once a month they always release something. Like right now, Splatoon 2 came out. That was like a big game and stuff, and just continue with that. And I think now too with Mario Odyssey, Mario Rabbids, that's going to be big for Nintendo, man. So. This is good, man. This is great for them, man. Especially that everybody's just talking about PlayStation and Xbox. Look at Nintendo, man, coming out of nowhere and just kicking butt right now, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm curious if this is a slow, methodical approach that Nintendo's doing for this? Is this something that they feel is the right way to sell the Switch? They can temper expectations. You know that it's only going to sell a finite amount within a period of time, and you can adjust, you can fine tune the manufacturing process. You can tell your manufacturer, hey, we're only going to need 10,000 this time. Hey, we're only going to need 15,000. Okay, we're expecting a ramp up. Give me 20,000. It gives the manufacturer time to source the products that they need, the individual components that they need to make these, to make the Switch into a complete, because obviously, it's not like 4 pieces of hardware that you're, cobbling together, talking, thousands of components individually that you have to source. I'm just curious, maybe this is Nintendo's way of giving the manufacturers an opportunity to manufacture their individual components, sell them to Nintendo, but also be able to sell them to other manufacturers that may reuse those parts, whether it be transistors or capacitors or things like that. I'm just curious, as the gears start to churn upstairs, maybe that's their strategy, to not force their manufacturers to lose business because they can't supply other manufacturers. I don't know. It's interesting how we've almost come to expect this, and it's commonplace now. Now it's like, oh, and it's Nintendo being Nintendo. We're only going to get finite support in the form of inventory. So I'm just hoping. And I don't know, maybe they need to find other manufacturers for their stuff, or maybe start to split out and outsource that the manufacturing opportunity to other people to satisfy this urge and need from the consumer.
Paris, you want to say anything? Or should we move forward?
Well, I mean, honestly, Pete said it all. I mean, there's really not much I can add to that, other than I'm happy. But I'm just saying the fact that the Switch is having this type of success. I will add in this: I finally had my airplane experience with the Switch over the past couple weeks. I've been taking it with me while I've been traveling, and I've been playing Zelda, and I love the fact that I have literally a full console in my hands wherever I go. That is an amazing thing. So, I'm glad I got proven wrong, because as you know, I was very skeptical of the Switch, but I definitely see its potential now. I will add this side nugget, and I know this will spark a bigger conversation, but I know we got to move on. I've been playing Zelda, and I'm not having fun with it because The Witcher 3 is way better. I'll just say that. Okay, we can keep going.
Oh,
I can see why Paris is saying that. You're not the only one, Paris. There's a couple of people that have been saying that, and I think it's because the game is extremely hard. That game is really tough.
It's not even the difficulty. And like I said, I know we got to move on. We don't have to get too in depth on this, because look, The Witcher 3 is hard as hell. You put it on the higher difficulties. Yeah. That's not the issue. I just feel like they have me just running around chasing stuff with not a lot of payoff. Like, I never feel like I'm getting something. And maybe I've been playing too much damn Destiny over the past 3 years. Like, I need that satisfaction of some kind of loot or some kind of gear. And I feel like all I'm getting is twigs and clubs, So I don't know. I'll keep playing it. I'm going to keep playing it. And maybe the more I get into it, I'll get it. But early on, I'm kind of like, I feel a little underwhelmed. I'll just put it that way.
Understand. Well, I'll mention this very quick. I finally beat Thumper on the Nintendo Switch. During the flight, I was coming back from San Francisco to Miami. Mm-hmm. I was playing nonstop, and I finally finished. Dude, it took me months to finish that game, and I love it, man. Love it, Pete. The last level, I thought about you. The last level, because more of
Why?
the whole. I'm serious. Like, the whole game is a rhythm music game, right? But then at the end, like, the boss messes with you, man. It's kind of like a DJ, so there's like scratches and stuff. So the beat is not on beat. It confuses you and stuff. So you have to like really study that sound in order for you to beat the last boss. Dude, what a crazy experience, man. Oh my God. Freaking love that game, man. So yeah, I already have the Xbox One version that just literally came out like a couple days ago. Right. So I'm going to try to get that and unlock some achievements and stuff. But yeah, love that game. Oh my God. Woof.
I'm just curious. Amazing. I'm curious because now that you've played it on the Switch, you've played it on the PlayStation, you're going to jump out and grab it again on Xbox One. Does the repetition of it get to the point where you're always doing the same thing? It's always the same sound or same beat stream coming at you for particular bosses. doesn't it become over repetitive and become the same thing over and over? And or is it fun enough that you get over that?
I just don't think about it. I just love the game and I love the soundtrack and I just love the experience so much that it doesn't matter which system I play, I still play it. You know, like I first discovered this because of the Nintendo Switch, right? So I bought it and so on. Then I heard about the PlayStation 4 version, and that was the one that came out first.
Right.
So I downloaded it again, I purchased it again. And then I hit up the developer. I'm like, hey, is it possible to get a code for the Xbox One version? I would love to test it out too, you know? And they sent me a code for that.
Nice.
So every time I play, it still feels like a brand new experience to me every time I play it, you know? And especially that I could check on the leaderboards and compete with my friends that actually play the game.
Okay.
And I can see how they're doing and everything. So I don't even think about that, Pete. That's repetitive. I don't think about that at all while playing this game. You know, so
nice.
Yeah, I truly enjoy this game, man. Truly enjoying this, and you know, I even play the VR version for the PlayStation 4, which is awesome too. So, but yeah, just want to say that very quick. Pete, you got to play a VR game during our the event at Ubisoft, the Gamescom pre Gamescom. Yes. So tell us a little bit about this. How was your experience? And is this your first VR game or not really?
No, it's definitely not my first VR game. I think that would likely go to Elite Dangerous.
Elite Dangerous. Okay.
That was probably my first full-on VR experience where you're just lost and like you get the whole nausea thing. This was one of those games. Sorry, so let's backtrack. Ubisoft collaborating with a company called Spectre Vision, which is owned by Elijah Wood, the actor. They came up with this. I guess we talked about it there at the event. Is it a thriller? Is it a horror game? I think it's a combination of both. It's got some concepts of horror. I think it's more of a psycho thriller type of game where you're. What I experienced was, you know, thrust into an experiment, quote unquote. You know, it's actually themed as an experimental experience, I guess is probably the best way, where you're going into a captured experience of someone that had a traumatic experience in their life. It's a lot of experience there. I went in having zero knowledge. I did zero read up on it. I didn't want to have any, you know, preconceived notions of it, knowing that we were going to check it out there. I didn't play it at E3. And not going to lie, there were moments where, you know, I had the headset on. Obviously, you're fully immersed in this experience. You're in this. I don't want to keep using the word experience. I think I'm using it too much. You've got the Oculus Rift hand. So like you're looking down and you see your hands when you shift around and you're adjusting and you're grabbing things throughout the game space. It's creepy. Like there's times where, and it's funny. One of the developers there, she's like, if you know, you will be immersed, and if there's comes a point where we need to guide you or help you, we're going to tap you on the shoulder. Please don't swing, because either it's happened or that, you know, you've seen other experiences on, you know, whether it's YouTube or what have you. You see other people playing YouTube and they're so into their environment that, you know, a sudden nudge, you know, from an unexpected area without you being able to, you know, to actually visualize it happening freaks people out. And there was 2 times, without giving anything away, where you jump, like it gets that, you know, it's like, it's something you're not expecting to happen. That being said, it's like a psycho, I guess I want to say it's almost like being in a first person Alan Wake puzzle game.
Right? Oh, by the way, Pete, very, very quick. This game that you played is only demo purposes. It's not going to be in the game at all. Like the one that's coming out in the future.
Uh-huh.
This is it was made only for like for people like the media or like people that attend like Gamescom PAX. So you could talk about it. It's fine. You can mention
all
what
right.
it is.
So you're thrust into this captured reality of the player that that you're trying to find out what happened to that person. So in this instance, you're the company that I forgot the name of the company within the game. They have, I guess, kind of like snapshot captured a moment in time or moments in time for this character, and you have to go in and try to, using their memories, figure out the puzzle, like figure out what happened to cause this instance. So, I had to go in and, you're walking around this old decrepit house and there's a light switch and you click the switch and then everything resets but comes in at a different time, like 10 years later. So you have to go back and forth between those two time eras to try to figure out the puzzle of how to get to specific parts to unlock the rest of the game, or the rest of that instance. And went down the stairs a couple times and got shot in the face with a shotgun by the character that I was trying to figure out. Finally got it, and then it brings you into the and all of it is a puzzle because you have to take things from one time period to another and put them in certain spots to unlock the next part, like the keys or a photograph that reminds you of another time period that's missing, so you had to find it. It was just all of these things little by little. Like it's a mentally stimulating game because you're trying to remember what was there, what's missing, what do you need to get to that next time period. And then the last room that we got into, it was just like you hear just like a repetitive sound and you can't tell what that repetitive sound was until you figure out that it's based on what position you are within the puzzle. It pretty much guides you. That's if you use that as your guide, that's how I figured it out. And then I got to the spot and it ended, and it was just like, it was satisfying enough that it was like, cool, that was really dope. But the psycho thriller part of it, I may have clinched the booty.
But it's funny because Pete, he like when you start playing this, there's no like wait, like they don't tell you how to play. You just sit there and you have to figure it out.
There's no tutorial whatsoever
at all. But by you discovering things and touching everything that you see, it helps you to understand a little bit about the game. So that's how Pete discovered all this, because he was just walking everywhere and just taking things from like the kitchen, the living room, downstairs, and he's like, okay, so if I press this switch, I'll go back to the past. Okay, so let me walk around to see if I discover other things, and that's how he figured everything out. That's really cool.
It's a lot of fun, and I could definitely see the allure of VR in an instance like this, where other times it almost seems like a cheap parlor trick. Having just like including VR as a last minute gimmick to help push a level or something like that. I could definitely see it like on a Effect and Cause on Titanfall 2. I think that would be a great opportunity to put VR into a mainstream AAA title. But how do you make the entire game a VR, VR enabled? That's, I think, the challenge that developers are coming against. How do you make that entire 6, 8, 10 hour time span of a game into a VR, capable experience? So that would be dope. That if we could get something like Effect and Cause on Titanfall 2, which I think is one of the best levels I've played in a long time, takes advantage of that time, that time switch thing, but keeping it within VR. So yeah, this is a game that I think will help push the envelope and help put VR into that next era of gaming. So I'm hoping they've got, if the rest of that game is as good as that level that we played, I've got no doubts that it's got an opportunity. It's got a good chance.
I mean, you guys have a PC. Why you haven't decided to buy a VR device for your PC? Because that's a better experience than having it on a console.
Because there hasn't. Go ahead, Paris.
Oh, I was just gonna say, do you want to pay for it, Moneybags? Because I've told you, I've told you multiple times, I don't feel like VR currently is ready for prime time. I still feel like it's nothing but demos and one-off experiences. When VR truly gets to that, like Pete was saying, I can go through an 8 to 10 hour experience doing VR, then I'll consider it. Right now, no, I'm not spending my money on that.
All right, and you, Pete, same thing.
I think it's taken up until time for developers to make a Transference, a game that can qualify potentially buying VR. Is Transference that game? It's got a good chance. It's got a really, really good chance. My fear is that I buy Transference and I buy into Oculus, and then I have no other games to play because nothing else has stepped up to the plate successfully enough. So, like, I'm on the fence now because of Transference. I see the potential that VR can bring in, but I need to see more than one game. One game can't be the reason I jump into VR. I'm too hesitant as a consumer these days after having been bit in the butt from mistakes in the past. I don't want to be that early adopter that now has another piece of hardware tech sitting on the shelf that I bought for one experience and the rest hasn't lived up to its name.
Well, speaking of VR, there's developers here that they've been working on a game called Soulkeeper. It's also a VR game. They sent me a code for Steam. It's already out. For those that are listening to the podcast and you have a VR device and you want a free game, hit me up, Godfrey at gamertagradio.com, and the first person that emails me, I will give them the code for free, and you can try it out, check it out, and play it. And it's a VR game. You have to have a VR to play this. It's not like you just play normal with PC. No, you need a VR device. So if you do have it, hit me up and I'll hook you up. Just want to say that real quick. And now a word from our sponsor, Western Digital. With WD, you're now able to get solid state drives and hard drives to fit your unique needs. When you add the superior performance of a WD solid state drive to your PC, you get blazing read speeds so you can boot your system quickly or load games and other applications in a snap. You hear that? In a snap. Combined with a reliable WD hard drive, you get up to 6 terabyte storage to keep your games library, direct feed video, podcast, and more all in a single place. And hear this, Gamertag Radio listeners, for limited time, Gamertag Radio listeners can get 20% off of WD STDs with coupon code WDGTR. That's 20% off WD STDs. So go right now and take advantage of this with coupon code WDGTR. Find out more at WD.com/GTR. And I mentioned this a couple of times already on the podcast. I'm planning to get my brand new PC, hopefully by the end of this year. And, already have my STDs, everything ready. All I need is my computer. And just like that, I could load games, load other applications in the snap with this. So yeah, everybody, take advantage of this, man. 20% off. You're not going to find it nowhere else. So, we have a great limited time offer here thanks to Western Digital. So once again, coupon code is WDGTR. And if you want more information, head over right now while you listen to the podcast, go to WD.com/GTR and tell them that Gamertag Radio sent you. Let's go. So we're going to play an interview and we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
Back on the scene. This is Gamertag Radio. Voicemail at 786-2737-GTR.
All right, so we're here at the pre-Gamescom Ubisoft event here in San Francisco with Pete. Pete,
how you doing? And we are here with someone that I've been looking forward to talking to, especially about this.
I'm honored.
Yes. We're honored, as you said, to have Ash from Ubisoft. So please, quick intro, and then we'll just jump into this.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Ashraf Ismail. I'm the game director for Assassin's Creed Origins, and it's exciting to be here to show off some new gameplay, and to be able to discuss with you guys about what you want to hear.
So tell us, for those that are not here, can tell us the new stuff that you're showing right here at the event.
So we're showing off a new city, so Memphis, the great city of Memphis, and the region of Memphis, with some more questing inside of there, meeting some new characters like Cleopatra and Aya. Aya and Bayek, our protagonist, they're married, so it's a very important relationship that we have that we're now finally talking a bit more about and showing off. But also showing off a lot of the weapons we have, a lot of combat systems we have, the way stealth works and all that stuff. So it's a lot of new stuff, I hope.
Yeah,
for people to chew on.
Yeah, I did. Let me tell you, I got into it really, really fast because I usually play like the older games too, Assassin's Creed. But you guys taking like a year off, year plus. So for us to get used to it like right away, it took for me right away. For you, took some time for you? Or?
Because I've played through almost every single title. I did start late with Brotherhood being the first one I went into.
That's a great game.
Yeah, and just powering through all of those, it's still kind of fresh in the muscle memory. But one of the things that caught me was getting used to having dual weapons. Whether it's the bladed weapons, the blunt weapons, or then you're switching. What was the thought process that you wanted to have, whether it be Bayek or whomever, having multiple weapon combat? Because typically you're walking in with the wrist blades, and sometimes you have another weapon. But this one now you've given the gamer the choice.
Yeah. So one of the early kind of tenets that we had from a design perspective, or what we wanted to achieve with this game, is first we wanted to reinvent the experience of Assassin's Creed. We knew that we're coming up to the 10-year anniversary. We had just finished Black Flag, so as soon as we finished Black Flag, we started Origins, and we wanted to bring something fresh, something new to Assassin's Creed. And when we talk about experience, that really means gameplay, narrative structure, the way that players consume the world, the way we build the world. We really wanted to change all that to bring something really fresh and new, while still authentically AC. That was very important for us. So we wanted that people see it's different, it's new, to actually say it, but still feel comfortable within the realm of it. So combat being when we talk about gameplay, combat was one of the most important ones that we needed to challenge ourselves on, to try to bring something new. Same for stealth and same for navigation, but combat, that was a tricky one, because we asked ourselves, how can we change combat but still keep it engaging, keep it something that somebody can pick up, but have more gameplay depth, have more reward value, have more challenge. We wanted boss fights. We told ourselves beginning of the project, we want a ton of boss fights in this game. And so we changed our paradigm of fight. So we went from a paired animation system to a hitbox-based system, which pretty much means you swing your weapon. If the enemy's not there, you just opened yourself up. So you all of a sudden care about distance, speed. Having said that, this is a play style. If you're not really into combat, if you prefer stealth, if you prefer archery, even if you prefer being a ranger, that's where the RPG element of the game comes in. We wanted players to be able to craft the kind of character they want to play. And what we see in previous ACs is really there were two play styles, fight and stealth. And what we saw was, we need to feed both those play styles. One is not better than the other. They're both valid. So now we have the ranger play style as well. So allow players to build the kind of character they want. If it's a hybrid that you want, no problem. There's room for you to build that. There's abilities, upgrades, crafting that helps you in that direction. That's where combat and RPG come in, and even stealth. It's really about building the kind of character you want to play. And if you're a warrior style, there's a ton of stuff for you to do in the combat system, which is so carrying two weapons, carrying multiple bows, switching between them on the fly to take the advantage of the synergy between weapons. that's there for you, but it's not forced. Go play stealth if you wish that, prefer that. No problem there.
Out of all places, why Egypt?
It's always been a dream setting to do for the team, for me personally as well. It was always a challenge of, can we build such a scope of a game where it's literally, it's a countryside. It's not just a city. It's a massive country with deserts, lush areas, the Nile Delta, cities, mountains, and caves and underwater. So it's always been the idea of, it was a technical challenge to be able to build all that content, to fill it with NPCs, animals, quests. And what we felt was we learned a lot on Black Flag. And technology has improved a lot. Our design capacities have also been, we've improved on that. And we felt that it was time to do that game. We knew that fans were also excited for it. So it was more of an aligning of the stars, if you will. That's why we chose Egypt. The setting, is epic. There's a lot of mysticism and mystery about it. There's an awe of what is Egypt and what are the discoveries that you can find in Egypt. And it just made sense for us to build an open world game in this context.
I love the diversity and the option to finally showcase someone from the Middle East as a positive character, as a positive influence. Yes. And I was just curious, being from the Middle East yourself, how important was that from just, an emotional or spiritual perspective? How important is that to you to finally be able to showcase a character from that region as a good guy, as opposed to, what we typically say?
Yeah, well, I say this to people. I actually, as a fan, I fell in love with AC1 because of the open world, because of the way the character touched the world. It was something I've never seen before. But one element was because you had a Syrian protagonist who was, showcased, and you controlled him and played him, and he was a hero. And this for me was, I'd never seen it before. I was blown away. And this was, on a personal level, it made me really connect with the series. And of course, with AC2 and Ezio, I just kind of fell in love completely with everything. So that was as a fan. So as a developer, being able to work on AC, to showcase a game in Egypt, to have a character who is authentically Egyptian, in his look, in his voice, this is incredibly gratifying. I feel that it's a duty at some point to try to have a bit more, diversity in our video games. To show a sense of inclusiveness, to show a different perspective that, yes, we don't see very often in video games, which is a shame, really. So it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be able to do that and to be given the capacity to do that. So I thank Ubisoft for that, of course. So it's incredibly gratifying. And so far, the response has been quite wonderful about the setting, about the characterization so far that we've seen. And I sincerely hope people really fall in love with what we've been toiling on for 4 years.
One thing that I would like to know, was there any books or movies that inspired you guys to come up with this while working in the game?
For references, we spent the first, more than 2 years, but the first 2 years of the project was a lot of research, a lot of research. We had Egyptologists that came to join the team. We have historians embedded in the team from day one till now, still with us. We have there's an artist named Gauvin from France who has done very inspirational Egyptian artwork representation of architecture, and he's very famous. Stuff that was way before Ubi or us came to it, and we had him do some artwork for us. So we've put a lot of effort to trying to bring Egypt to life as authentically and credibly as possible. I don't say realistically, but credibly. And where we didn't know as much about what it was, this is where our artists had a bit of room to grow, to push. For example, the temples and the tombs were actually painted in really bright, beautiful colors. This has been lost over time because of wind and sand. So this was a really cool moment for us to be able to make that shine. So we've put a lot of effort to recreate Egypt. And so we've looked at many different books, many different artists, random movie references, just to make sure we saw it and we understood it and we see what's good and what we didn't like. We didn't want to do characterization of Egypt. We wanted to make something that was quite credible and feels authentic. And we sincerely hope that we nailed something that people can feel like, wow, I've never experienced Egypt like this before. And that it should feel quite honest and And yes, there is our lore into it. There is, an element of mysticism into it, but that it feels credible and there's a weight to it. I sincerely hope we nailed that.
No, I think from what we've seen so far, whether it was at E3 or what we saw today, it's fantastic. I've always been enamored with the Egyptian culture.
Thank you.
Cyrus, everything. So seeing it, like, just similar as you said, it's like a dream come true. You're finally seeing that.
I love hearing that.
So I want to get into the, what you guys talked about today. There's a couple of characters that were brought in. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of, a little bit today, we talked about the historic figures that we have in the game. So we are in 49 BCE, which is, historically speaking, the time period where Cleopatra was exiled. And she goes on a journey to ascend her throne, to regain her throne from her brother, Ptolemy XIII. So, of course, in this journey, she meets with Caesar in a very historic, famous meeting. So players will experience that moment in our game. There's the Siege of Alexandria, which is an epic battle between Caesar, his little small Roman entourage that was with him, with Cleopatra's crew that tried to escape the city at some point. So there's these really big, epic, historic moments with Caesar and Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII that we felt was an awesome way to showcase the history that actually happened. Of course, we intertwine our own lore into it, and how does a character like Bayek and Aya, another character we introduced today, how is their personal story intertwined, and how does it lead into this moment? So this is something that was really exciting for us to give to our players as a journey. So we have those historic figures. Another big character that we introduced today is Aya. Aya is a native of Alexandria, the city of Alexandria, but very young. She had moved to Siwa, where she grew up with Bayek. The two trained together. He's a Magi, she's not, but they've adopted similar philosophies. They married. So in a traditional Egyptian kind of concept of marriage, they're married. And the idea of the game is that they went through a very difficult journey. Something happened in their home of Siwa that led to the start of this game. And that's the journey that we see them both on. Two people that love one another, that have an intense relationship, who go through some kind of trauma, and then through their own perspective, which is different, how do two people with the same problem react to that problem? How do they resolve it? And the idea is their relationship, their marriage, the tension that develops over this is what helps lead to give birth to the Assassin's Brotherhood, which is sort of the output of the game at the end of the day in terms of the lore of AC.
My last question, you probably could have another one too. My last question is, how important was it to take that year off for you and the team?
I get this question a lot, and it's not to say that we got a year off and we decided, hey, let's add hippos to the game. It was from very early on with those intentions that I mentioned earlier about reinventing the experience of Assassin's Creed. We set our plans, and we set them on paper. So we're going to have a new combat system. We're pushing stealth, we're pushing navigation, quests, and Egypt, the open world of Egypt. So we put it on paper, and we went to our upper management, and we kind of showed them the plan and said, this is the game we want to make. And our mandate from even the upper management was to reinvent AC. And what I love is that they accepted that plan. They helped us. They gave us the time to do it. We told them, a new combat system, like built from scratch, we need time, we need iteration, we need play testing. So they gave us the time to do that. And so, people say, what did you do with that one extra year? I would say, no, we needed these 4 years to build this Assassin's Creed. If we didn't have that extra time, if we shipped a year earlier, it would be a different game. So to really reinvent that series, reinvent Assassin's Creed, the experience of it, we just needed that time, and I'm super thrilled that the upper management gave us that time to do it.
Maybe it's because it's early or not, but I don't know if you can answer this question. But I noticed that previous Assassin's Creed, you finish a quest or a mission, and you will rate the mission, basically giving feedback to the developers.
Yeah.
I didn't see that this one. Maybe it's because it's early, but are we going to see that? Because I think importantly for me as a fan, I like doing that because I'm sending feedback to you guys. So I don't know if you could answer that question up, but if not, it's okay.
Yeah, we introduced that concept in Black Flag. And we actually looked at a lot of the results, and we churned out the data of that and what it meant. The one drawback, so we don't have it in Assassin's Creed Origins, and the one of the main reasons was we did receive quite a bit of feedback that it felt like it was a little bit pulling players out of the experience of the moment. And the biggest element, the biggest difference actually, and it's the main reason, is in Black Flag it was a mission structure. So it was a linear mission. So you're in a mission, you end that mission, and so now you're given a moment where the game pauses. Here, because of the quest structure, because of the openness of the quest structure, you can technically be in one quest and have another. All the quests are running live, so you can technically be following one quest and trying to achieve it, and you might see a target or a character from a different quest nearby, and you might just decide, I'm gonna deal with this while that thing's still going. I'm gonna go to here because they're right there. And this, naturally, you see that the game is way more open and way more diverse, and a lot of synergy comes from the fact that a lot of quests are running in the same space. And here, if we needed to pause the game every time, we felt that it was going to really pull players out of that experience and kind of maybe give a friction that we don't want. That's the main reason. Having said that, we have Reddit as a wonderful place to look at feedback, to look at what people say. So there are avenues. I think it was a cool feature that we had in Black Flag. The only thing is that now the way the quest structure works, it's not ideal for that dynamic feeling of the world is living and you're trying to do a bunch of things all at the same time.
Okay. All right. And I guess one last question, because I know you've, I'm pretty sure that you've had a long day.
It's my pleasure, really. I love talking about the game. I love showing it off. I love that we're actually showing it off now. It's 3.5 years, 4 years. Right. It's a long time.
So Aya, it's a character when you announced it today, and we had an opportunity to play through the game, I was like, oh, okay. So aside from playing the blunt instrument known as Bayek, is there any chance or possibility of being able to play as Aya?
So Bayek is not the only playable character that we have in the game. Okay. There are other playable characters. Having said that, the journey is primarily focused around Bayek. And we are not yet talking anything about who these other playable characters are.
Fair enough. Once again, Ash, thank you very, very much for giving us the opportunity to come into your world, check out
my pleasure,
AC
please.
Origins. I am looking forward to it like you would not believe.
Thank you. This means a lot.
October 27th?
October 27th on Xbox One, PS4, PS4 Pro, PC, and then as a launch title for Xbox One X on November 7th.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
My absolute
Danny,
pleasure. Thank you,
else?
guys.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio.
All right, so we're back here. Thanks for listening to GTR. That was a great interview there. And Pete, we have more content. Paris, we have other stuff coming up. So once again, you want to tease it so we could promote this and people could get hype?
Again, I would definitely say check out Thursday's episode. If you want to know more about my trip to Bellevue, Washington, you'll definitely want to tune in. But I'll say this real quick. Like I said, I got a chance to do a tour of Bungie, and just shout out to Deej, because he was our tour guide, and being able to see their motion capture room, being able to see their playtest, their playtest lab, where you go in there and then actually we went in a meeting room and you can look down in the bullpen. You guys have probably seen this in videos where everyone works, like the majority, like the art team, the sandbox team, design team, programmers, where they all work. There's about 700 Bungie employees now. It was very inspiring to see how they had all that set up and all the mobile desks. They can move around so that if teams need to collaborate, they can literally do it on the fly. Just things like that, it's just, it was an experience that if anyone gets a chance to do that tour, absolutely you want to do it. And Deej told me he has done that tour now probably over 400 times, so he can do it in his sleep at this point. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, which is very interesting as well. Yeah, I mean, one other thing. So like I said, when they took us upstairs, which we couldn't take photos or anything in this, they showed us the actual control room where they can monitor everything that we do. They got like Twitch streams up so they can see people when they're streaming, and then they can actually look at like basically it's like a heat map. They can see when North America comes online, when Europe comes online, South America, etc. And they can literally track us down to the individual player and see everything that we're doing in the world at any given time, which was kind of interesting because there was an outage that I guess had happened briefly for like 20 or 30 minutes. And you could see the heat map where population was like at a high and then went down to 0. 20 minutes later, you see everyone logging back in, firing back up. So yeah, it's a tour that I definitely recommend anyone. If you get a chance, you go do it because it's something I'll always remember. I'll put it that way.
I could just imagine coming from a network and engineering standpoint.
Yeah,
that's something obviously you and I have, a lot of time in as that's what we do from a career perspective. So seeing that whole knock / SOC / like dungeon room, I can imagine that was just like a personal high for you as well. Not just because it was Destiny, but just seeing how all of that technology from a network and engineering component just comes alive and how they're able to use it to map out.
Yeah. Oh, what? 100% agree. One other thing, I got to see the room where the vault of glass was beaten for the very first time. They have like a test room where it's just Bungie employees internal that they play. And at that time when we were there, I could see Lars Bakken in there. I could see John Wisniewski in there. And they were talking with these guys and they're looking at us and we're looking at them. And, I'm like, dude, I know all the people in this room. It was like such an amazing moment. But that's literally where they test all the raids, all the big new features that they put out. That's the internal team that does it. So it's kind of cool and weird in a way because you go, man, that room is super tiny, but they're explaining it's super tiny because they want it to be an intimate setting and the people in there, they can trash talk each other and communicate and the whole thing. So it's cool. It's like I said, if you're watching this on Twitch now, you can see me grinning because that was my face the entire time. I just had a smile.
Yeah. Now, what I know before we wrap this up here, that's the thing I like about going to events like that and talking to like developers and having a conversation with them, behind the scenes and stuff that's not on the podcast or streaming and so on. Because I feel like a lot of us like to criticize these developers online and not knowing how it is behind the scenes. And I feel like it's super important for us to get to see a tour like that, Paris, right? Mm-hmm. Or the other day when we had the lead writer of Agents of Mayhem, we had a great conversation with him. And people that have been on our show in the past, I think it's super important to have that conversation for us to learn about behind the scenes instead of, seeing all these tweets and posts and blog posts and YouTube videos criticizing all these developers with not having any knowledge on the stuff that happens behind the scenes, So to us and to me especially, like I love that, to learn from them about working a product and so on. I mean, I know sometimes they can't say much about it because it's part of their job and everything, but it's cool to at least learn about that, man. I think it's super important, man.
No, it is. Oh, and one other little nugget, which I think is pretty cool. I got to see their break room where they all get to hang out, the kitchen and all that. But in there are a row, and sorry when I say this, but there are a row of PlayStation 4s that are set up because they actively play the game, like the employees. And, again, being a developer, crunch time, they don't necessarily get to go home until late hours sometimes. But in between breaks and everything, they play Destiny just like we do. And they'll do it in the studio. They do it at home. And, look, I have more to say later, but, trust me, they play the game just like we do. They have the same frustrations that we do. And it was pretty cool to hear that and get that interface, do that whole face-to-face thing where what they're saying is truly sincere.
Cool. I think you wanted to say anything?
Yeah, well, I think we've mentioned this in the past. Whenever you see the developers playing their respective title in their off time, in a chance that they could be taking a break and taking 5, when you see the developers playing their game, whether I think I've spoken about this in the past with the Fortnite devs at E3, opportunity to go check out other games, check out other things, go meet up with people that they hadn't seen in maybe a year since the last E3, or development or other people in the same space that they haven't met or whatnot. Because as developers, you usually, because you're in that same employment, you can get that opportunity to go hang out with developers at other companies because, you can have that mind meld with other developers. You get that opportunity to go see other things, but they were there playing more Fortnite because it's that much fun. Those are things that I like to see, right? Because that takes you back. It shows how much fun their game actually is because they're that much invested into it, not because they made it, but because it's genuinely fun to them. So when you see developers, like you were saying, Paris, where you're seeing the developers playing Destiny, even though they've got 1,600, 1,800, 2,000 hours going through, Destiny 1 or what have you, and now all the hours going into the development and playtesting of Destiny 2, you can imagine having 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 hours into a specific title, and they're still playing it because they genuinely love it, and that's the fun part. And I could just imagine, Paris's, time into the game now.
Mm-hmm. Well, one last thing, because this just shows you that the Bungie employees are trolls as well. So as we're walking out, there's these two employees, they see us and they're walking and they're having a conversation and they purposely get a little louder and they're like, yeah, man, I think the fans are going to be really excited next week when we announce that Destiny Halo collaboration. And I looked at them and they looked at me and I was like, I know what you're doing. You're trying to start some stuff. And they just started laughing. That's hilarious.
That's funny. All right, so head over to gamertagradio.com or play.it/gamertag. Listen to our past episodes. You also can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and other podcast directories. Or watch us live every Sunday and Wednesday. You can watch us live on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/gamertagradio. Very quick, there's no streaming this Wednesday because we're going to the awards, the Academy of Podcasters. We got nominated for Best Games and Hobbies podcast. So in that category, so I'm very excited. I'm going with Paris for the first time. That's going to be very interesting. We'll see what happens. But a lot of people are going over there, Paris. I'm excited, man. It's my first time going to Anaheim. Never been there ever. So we'll see what happens. But if there's anybody that's listening to this, and you live close to the Anaheim area, hit me up. We could invite you. You could come with us and hang out with us over there at the ceremony. And that's the same day that the Messengers, a podcast documentary, comes out, August 23rd on Wednesday. So it's like another way for us to celebrate and stuff, man. Win or lose, I think it's important for us to go there. It's like, for us to celebrate the whole podcast in general. I think it's been a great year for us, man, so... let's see. Hopefully, we'll bring a couple of listeners over there, man. So, anything else you guys want to say before we wrap it up?
No, just stay tuned. The next couple of weeks of content is going to be bananas. Not just the games that are coming out, but the content that we have in the background coming out to support these initiatives is going to be amazing. Can't wait for it. Also, I'm 3 episodes into Defenders, and I'm shook. I'm torn. I don't know which way to go. I don't know if it's good or it's bad, but I'm enjoying it all the same.
It's not good.
Wow, Paris is like,
and there it is.
Where am I at? I think I'm on episode 5, but the fact that I'm not driven to keep pushing to want to watch to find out what's next is a problem for me. Look, we can talk about this in the after show. I'll be quiet. We'll talk about it in the after show.
All right, there you go. All right, so remember, check us out. And we'll remember, no stream on Wednesday. No stream, but we're going to have 3 episodes coming out this week. So, yeah, stay tuned. All right, until next time, we're out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.